I was working from home when the sudden screech of tires cut through the quiet of my afternoon. Before I even reached the front door, someone began pounding on it so hard it rattled the frame. When I opened it, there stood Karen Matthews, the HOA president, her face twisted with fury, designer sunglasses shoved into her perfectly highlighted hair. "You," she shrieked, stabbing a manicured finger into my chest. "You sabotaged my Tesla. Your faulty electrical outlet fried the entire system. I'm going to sue you into oblivion." Stared at her, completely stunned. "What are you talking about? I've never touched your car. Don't play dumb with me," she spat, her voice carrying down the street and pulling curious neighbors to their windows. "Your outdoor outlet, the one you let me use, damaged my car's charging system. The repair shop says it'll cost thousands, and it's your fault." Confusion quickly gave way to realization. I did have an outdoor GFEI outlet near my driveway, but I had never given anyone permission to use it, especially not Karen. As she kept ranting, one thing became crystal clear. Karen had been using my electricity without my permission, and now that something had gone wrong, she was trying to dump the blame on me. I only moved into Oakwood Estates 3 months earlier. It was a beautiful gated community, manicured lawns, spotless sidewalks, and the most micromanaged HOA I'd ever experienced. As a software engineer who worked from home, peace mattered to me. But instead, I got Karen Matthews, who treated the HOA presidency like a military command. Within my first week, I'd been slapped with notices. My garbage bins were visible from the street. They weren't. My lawn was 1/4 inch too high. I measured it. And my doormat was an unauthorized decoration. It was plain black. Karen seemed personally offended that I existed, probably because I politely but firmly pushed back whenever her demands went beyond the actual written HOA rules. "I never gave you permission to use my electrical outlets," I said evenly, which only made her angrier. "We had a verbal agreement," she snapped, her pitch rising high enough to set the neighbor's dog barking. "You told me I could use it in emergencies." A blatant lie. We'd barely exchanged 10 words since I moved in, and none of them involved sharing my electricity. But Karen was now inventing an entire alternate universe where I was at fault for her car troubles. What she didn't know was that I'd already noticed something odd. My electricity bill had jumped nearly 30% last month. I also kept getting late night alerts from my security system about movement near my garage. But every time I checked the camera feed, whatever was there had vanished. I'd assumed it was a stray cat or raccoon. Now, everything was clicking into place. "Karen, I think you should leave," I said, trying to de-escalate. "We can talk when you've calmed down. I'm not going anywhere until you agree to pay for my repairs," she shouted, planting herself firmly on my welcome mat, the same one she'd previously labeled unauthorized. I shut the door in her face and immediately pulled up my security camera footage from the past few weeks. And there it was, Karen, creeping onto my property at a extension cord in hand, plugging her Tesla into my outdoor outlet. Not once, but 7 times in the last month. No wonder my electricity bill had exploded. The very next day, a thick envelope appeared in my mailbox. Inside was an official HOA complaint accusing me of tampering with community power infrastructure and of willful negligence, causing property damage. According to Karen's fabricated story, I had explicitly agreed to let her use my outlet as part of a non-existent neighborhood electricity sharing program. She claimed my outlet was defective and had somehow caused $10,000 worth of damage to her Tesla's charging system. The complaint demanded that I not only pay for the repairs, but also fund an electrical safety audit for the entire neighborhood, conveniently to be performed by her brother-in-law's company. Naturally, she had twisted the situation so dramatically that in her version, she was both the victim and a selfless community hero, while I was a dangerous menace, endangering the whole neighborhood with faulty wiring. But what Karen hadn't counted on was my meticulous nature. Not only did I have security footage of her trespassing and stealing electricity, but I also had my home's electrical system professionally inspected and certified when I moved in. The GFEI outlet she'd been using worked perfectly. The real issue was her cheap, non-rated extension cord never meant to handle the high power draw of a Tesla charger. A basic safety rule any electric vehicle owner should know. I contacted my homeowner's insurance, which looped in their legal department. After watching the security footage, they were eager to take on the case. Meanwhile, I answered the HOA complaint with a thick documentation packet, the camera footage, my electrical certifications, and a counter-complaint for trespassing, electricity theft, and filing a fraudulent claim. The HOA board members, everyone except Karen, called an emergency meeting. As I presented my evidence, skepticism slowly turned into outright shock. The footage was especially incriminating, showing Karen not only stealing power, but attempting to disable my security camera during her latest visit. When that clip played, several board members gasped aloud. "Mrs. Matthews, would you like to respond to these allegations?" asked Gerald Wilson, the board treasurer, his voice heavy with disbelief. Karen's usual confidence wavered. He verbally agreed to it. "There's no proof of that. But we had an arrangement." "An arrangement," Gerald repeated, raising an eyebrow. "That involved you accessing his property at 2 o'clock in the morning and trying to tamper with his security camera." Karen's story crumbled even further when the certified electrician I'd invited stepped forward. He confirmed that the damage to her Tesla was entirely consistent with an improper charging setup, specifically the flimsy extension cord visible in my camera footage. He explained that Tesla explicitly warns owners against such makeshift charging methods in the manual. "In my professional opinion," he stated, "the damage resulted from unsafe, unauthorized equipment use, not from any fault in the homeowner's electrical system." Then came the final blow. Karen's own insurance company had already reviewed my evidence. Their representative, present at the meeting, informed the room that her claim was denied because unauthorized charging setups voided her policy. Karen was personally on the hook for the entire repair bill. As the meeting wrapped up, the board unanimously dismissed her complaint against me. But they weren't finished. Gerald cleared his throat. "We have a second matter regarding Mrs. Matthews' position as HOA president," he continued. "After seeing the footage you provided, 3 other homeowners reviewed their own security cameras. It appears you've been using their outdoor outlets as well without permission." Karen's complexion drained as Gerald displayed photos from other neighbors' cameras. Karen in the middle of the night, dragging the same extension cord, plugging into different homes. One clip even captured her trying to reset a neighbor's electrical meter. The board voted immediately. Karen would be removed as HOA president for gross misconduct and abuse of authority. They also imposed the maximum $5,000 fine for repeated violations of property boundaries. And to top it off, a police officer who had been invited to the meeting presented her with an official trespassing citation. "This is outrageous," Karen cried, her voice cracking as the consequences finally caught up to her. "I've given everything to this community." "Everything," Gerald replied dryly, "including unauthorized electricity usage." Apparently, Karen stormed out in humiliation, face flushed, but paused at the doorway to glare back at all of us. "This isn't over," she hissed. "I built this community. You'll all regret this." 3 days later, her Tesla was towed away for repairs, and she was served with a civil suit from my insurance company for theft of electricity, trespassing, and filing false claims. The projected total including legal fees was expected to exceed $20,000. When the paperwork was delivered to her doorstep, her scream of frustration echoed across the entire neighborhood. And for the first time since I moved in, not a single neighbor filed a noise complaint.